So Microsoft have just released some brand new versions of the Xbox Series X and Series S. Not only that though, they are keeping alive 2 existing models and they're discontinuing a model as well, and there's some hidden hardware changes in there as well. So if you're thinking about buying an Xbox or asking whether you should upgrade, well, let's talk about it. So in the new Xbox Series X, there have been some internal hardware changes. Austin Evans has already done a hardware breakdown of this, but to summarize it all up, you've seen a chipset move from 7nm down to 6, and the heatsink has changed from a vapor chamber to a more traditional copper heat pipe. Now that is going to make it cheaper for Microsoft to make the console, but it's not just for their benefit. On our perspective, you do see the new Series X consume less power. So it consumes about 20% less power idle compared to the current Series X, and it consumes about 10% less power when it's actually busy. And it does all that without sounding any louder than the previous version. It runs at about 39 decibels. Now, that's about the equivalent of a quiet library room, if that gives you an idea of how quiet this console really is. So Microsoft has taken all those hardware changes and released 3 new versions of their console. There is a 1TB Series S in white, there is an all-digital Xbox Series X in white, and there is a 2TB Galaxy Black version of the Series X as well, with a disk drive. And they are still keeping 2 existing versions, so they're still keeping the 512GB version of the Series S and the existing 1TB disk version of the Series X as well. And they are discontinuing the Series S Carbon Black Edition, which I'm a little sad about because I've got one in the other room. It is essentially exactly the same as the Series S 1TB in white that they've just announced. They've just changed the color. Like, literally that's it. It might actually be the shortest Xbox console ever to live, because the Carbon Black Edition was only released, 1st of September last year? So it's only been alive for just over a year, and now it's been discontinued. It's almost like Xbox can't make up its mind as to what its sort of color scheme was. So last year it was kind of like, here's the Carbon Black Edition. It gives you more memory in a Series S, so it's almost like you're getting a Series X because it's the same color. This year though, they've kind of gone around, well actually here's more versions, and that doesn't play out, because what we're going to do is say, if it's a white Xbox, then it's diskless, and if it's a black Xbox, then it's got a disc. Which I guess kind of works, but it means you've got to discontinue the Carbon Black to make that color scheme play true. So with those 5 different models and $50 separating a lot of them, which of these do I think you should get? I can't really recommend the 512GB model of the Series S, because I just don't think there's enough storage there, because once you take into account the operating system, there is only 364GB of usable storage on the Series S. And that really doesn't give you much space for installing games, because games now definitely aren't taking up a small amount of space. So NBA 2K24, that takes up 176GB of space. Forza Horizon 5 is 135GB. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, that's 134. So you can install 2, maybe 3 games at a push on that console. So I think 1TB is kind of the minimum that you should be focusing on. And really, you've got to look at the option of, if you decided that you wanted to go and upgrade the storage later, well, it's cheaper to get it now, because a 512GB expansion card is going to cost you $80, but if you double your storage, so you get an extra 512, it's going to cost you $50 now. So again, better to get it now. Get the 1TB model as your baseline. However, now for just $100 extra, you could get the all-digital white Series X. Now that's a really enticing buy, especially if you've got a monitor that supports 4K or a TV that supports variable refresh rate. Then the Series X, that's got to start looking tempting. If you've only got like a 1080p TV though, then you're going to be fine with the Series S. So anyway, we're now at $450, and just for another $50, you can now get the disk drive version of the Series X. And not only can you use the Series X for playing games, but you can also use it as a Blu-ray and a DVD drive as well. So that might be worth the upgrade. Now we're at $500, and now for $100 extra, you can get the Galaxy Black version, which will give you 2TB of storage. Again, that's doubling your storage. And again, it's cheaper to get the extra storage now, because the difference between a 1TB Series X and a 2TB Series X is $100. If you decide you want to buy a 1TB expansion card later, they cost $150, so it is cheaper to get it now. For me though, the Galaxy Black Edition just kind of seems unnecessary. Like, why do I need a different color case just because I've got more storage? I mean, they've already released a 512 gig and a 1TB model of the Series S without changing color, so why bother doing that with the Series X? It just doesn't really make any sense. And look wise, it honestly looks like someone just took a paintbrush and just decided to like flick it at a black Series X, and ta-da, there's your Galaxy Black version. I mean, I'm definitely a fan of the extra storage, just not so much of the color scheme. Hopefully they actually run out of it really quickly, and then they can just start selling a 2TB black Xbox. And then I'll be happier. You will notice that there's no changes to the size of the consoles here, and to be honest, it didn't really need a change. I mean, it's not like the Xbox was a PS5. I mean, when that came out, that was a massive console, so it really, really needed a PS5 Slim. I mean, the Series X is still shorter and less deep than the PS5 Slim, so there really wasn't a need to change the size of it. It's actually a real shame that they didn't release a 2TB digital all-white version of the Series X, because for me, that would have been the ideal sweet spot. This pricing lines up perfectly with Sony. So the PS5 Slim in Sony land, you get the all digital version for $450, same as the all digital version white of the Series X, or you get the disc version for $500 with 1TB of storage, same as the Series X Black with 1TB of storage. None of these are comparable to the PS5 Pro that Sony's recently announced. That is a completely different console, and maybe a video for another time. So to sum it all up, you've now got a choice between 2 different models of the Series S, 3 different models of the Series X, and anywhere between $300 to $600 covers the entire range. Are you actually tempted to buy one, and if so, which one? And actually, are you gonna upgrade to one of these? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to check out what Sony are doing with their PS5 Pro, then be sure to check out the link up here. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and share it. Consider subscribing if you're not. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.